Reading Test 3, Section 1, Bakelite. In 1907, Leo Hendrik Bicland, a Belian scientist working in New York, discovered and patented a revolutionary new scientific material. His invention, which he named Bakelite, was of enormous technological importance and effectively launched the modern plastics industry. The term plastic comes from the Greek placent meaning to mold. Some plastics are derived from natural sources, some are semi-scientific, the result of chemical action on a natural substance, and some are entirely scientific, that is chemically engineered from the constituents of coal or oil. Some are thermoplastic, which means that like candle wax, they melt when heated and can be reshaped. Others are thermosetting like eggs, they cannot revert to their original viscose state and their shape is thus fixed forever. Bakelite had the distinction of being the first totally scientific thermosetting plastic. The history of today's plastics begins with the discovery of a series of semi-scientific thermoplastic materials in the mid-19th century. The impetus behind the development of these early plastics was generated by a number of factors: immense technological progress in the domain of chemistry, coupled with wider cultural change and the pragmatic need to find acceptable substance for dwindling supplies of luxury materials such as tortoise shells and ivory. Bicland's interest in plastics began in 1885 when as young chemistry student in Belgium, he embarked on research into phenolic resins, the group of sticky substances produced when phenol carbolic acid combines with an aldehyde, a volatile fluid similar to alcohol. He soon abandoned the subject, however, only returning to it some years later. By 1905, he was a wealthy New Yorker, having recently made his fortune with the invention of a new photograph paper. While Bakeland had been busily amassing dollars, some advances had been made in the development of plastics. The years 1899 and 1900 had seen the patenting of the first semi-scientific thermosetting material that could be manufactured on an industrial scale in purely scientific terms. Bakeland's major contribution the field is not so much the actual discovery of the material to which he gave his name, but rather the method by which a reaction between phenol and formaldehyde could be controlled, thus making possible its preparation on commercial basis. On 13 July 1907, Bicland took out his famous patent describing this preparation, the initial features of which are still in use today. The original patent outlined a three-stage process in which phenol and formaldehyde from wood or coal are initially initially combined under vacuum inside a large egg-shaped kettle. The result was a resin known as bola nobalak, which became soluble and malleable when heated. The resin was allowed to cool in shallow trays until it hardened and then broken up and ground into powder. Other substances were then introduced, including pillars such as wood flour, asbestos, or cotton, which increased strength and moisture resistance. Catalysts substances to speed up the reaction between two chemicals without joining to either. And hexa, a compound of ammonia and formaldehyde, which supplied the additional formaldehyde necessary to form a thermosetting resin. This resin was then left to cool and harden and ground up a second time. The resulting granular powder was raw bakelite, ready to be made into a vast range of manufactured objects. In the last stage, the heated bakelite was poured into hollow mold of the required shape and subject to extreme heat and pressure, thereby setting its form for life. The design of bakelite objects, everything from earrings to television sets, was governed to a large extent by the technical requirements of the molding process. The object could not be designed so that it was locked into the mold and therefore difficult to extract. A common general rule was that objects separate pieces. Molds had to be carefully designed so that the molten bakelite would flow evenly and completely into the mold. Sharp corners provide impractical and were thus avoided, giving rise to the smooth, streamlined style popular in the 1930s. The thickness of the walls of the mold was also crucial. Thick wall took longer to cool and harden, a factor which had to be considered by the designer in order to make the most efficient use of machines. Bigland's invasion, although treated with disdain in its early years, went on to enjoy an apparent popularity which lasted throughout the first half of the 20th century. It became the wonder product of the new world of industrial expansion. The material of 1,000 use being both non-porous and heat-resistant. Bakelite kitchen goods were promoted as being germ-free and sterilizable. Electrical manufacturers seized on its insulating properties, and consumers everywhere relished its dazzling array of shades, delighted that they were now, alas, no longer restricted to the wood tones and drab browns of the pre-plastic era. It then fell from favor again during the during the 1950s and was despised and destroyed in vast quantities. Recently, however, it has been experiencing something renaissance with renewed demand for original backline objects in the collector's marketplace and museums, societies, and dedicated individuals once again appreciating the style and originality of this innovative material.